Hello and welcome back to the final episode of the Feeding an Army series. Today we're going to be going over what Army soldiers eat today. So what the U.S. Army ration is the MRE, or Meal Ready to Eat. Now this replaced the MCI, the Meal Combat Individual, that we talked about last episode in 1981. And the original format was a bag like you see here, but it was a dark brown, meant to blend into the surroundings of Central Europe. Over time, it evolved to this lighter tan bag that is synonymous with the MRE, and this lighter tan is meant to blend in a little bit more into the environment of the Middle East. So what is so special about the MRE? What about its packaging makes it so that it matches what the Army needs to feed its soldiers? Now, when the MREs were developed, they have very specific requirements to be able to go out into the field. Number one is they have to survive a parachute drop from 1,250 feet and a non-parachute drop from 98 feet. And this is because in the early days of the MRE, Army soldiers were doing these drops from parachutes and non-parachutes, and their lunches were just rupturing in the bag. All of their stuff was everywhere and was inedible. So the Army had their food chemists and their food designers develop this bag to be able to survive those big drops, which I think is pretty cool that they can survive such a big drop. As well, they have to be shelf-stable for 3 years at any temperatures between 81 and 100 degrees, and they have to be shelf-stable for about 6 or so months from -60 to well over 100 degrees. Fahrenheit, that is. So they do have these shelf-stable requirements. Sort of like we see with our past rations, that they'll survive past those shelf-stable requirements, but they don't always turn out so well. Now, what I have here, I have 2 MREs, and I am not so sure that these are only 3 years old. I think they're a lot older than that, so I guess I will let you know how shelf-stable these are. Each MRE is going to be about 1,250 calories, so that's 1,250 calories every meal, and they're going to weigh anywhere between 18 and 26 ounces, depending on what exact meal that you're getting. As well, they're going to have a very specific makeup. It's going to be 13% protein, 51% carbohydrates or carbs, and 36% fat. Now, there were originally 16 main meals, and now there are 24 main meals, so the Army has expanded the amount of options there are, and well over 150 different side options. And there's also kosher and halal special MREs for those with dietary restrictions. So the Army is really working on expanding the meals and expanding the options from the rations of World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, where the options were much more limited. So what we see now is we see a much broader eating choices for these soldiers, and to help really further that, the Army is actually going to rotate their menu every couple of years to help prevent that menu fatigue of people getting bored of eating the same thing every single day. So I think that, at least personally, I think that's pretty cool that all these meals are rotated through. And another thing is that the Army is going to include commercial and familiar items within the MREs to create that sense of familiarity and to really acquaint these soldiers with their MREs. Now, what are the results of that? And well, it's a little controversial because most soldiers don't like MREs. I'm sure if you ask anyone who's served in the military in the past 20 or 30 years, they'll tell you they don't like MREs. No one wants to eat them. Well, they're not really likable. And why is that? Well, soldiers are picky. And this is a trend that we've been seeing since the Revolutionary War. If you've kept note of this entire series, soldiers are picky. Humans are picky. You're not going to make the same thing for everybody that everyone's going to like. So what exactly are in these MREs? So each MRE is going to have a main dish. And this is the one that has 24 options. And there's things like lemon pepper tuna and pepperoni pizza, which if you're interested in is a quite fascinating story as to how they made pizza able to be shelf stable for 3 years and in a little brown bag like this. So I'm going to link an article down in the description if you'd like to learn more about that. There's also cheese tortellini and maple sausage, all sorts of things. Now the two I have a chili with beans and I have a hash brown with peppers, onions, and bacon. Now there's also going to be a side. Some of these options are applesauce and breadsticks and cornbread, which I have here. I have cornbread. And there's going to be a snack or dessert. And this is really where we see those commercial items make their appearance. So Skittles and M&Ms and Soldier Fuel Bars, which is a type of power bar, and all sorts of things like that, fortified pound cake, things that really will acquaint the soldiers with the food and make it sort of familiar, something that they'd have at home. There's also going to be a powdered beverage of some sort, hot cocoa, coffee, tea, juice, and the milkshake powdered beverage is quite popular because you can turn it into an icing for the cookies. That leads me to the cookies, or there's bread and cheese, or bread and spread, some sort of crackers and spread, jam, cheese, peanut butter. And that's very similar to the MCI or C-Rat B unit. So having your crackers in your spread. So I have crackers and I have the well sought after cheese spread and jalapenos. So I'm a little excited to try this. I've heard a lot about this one. Now as well, there's going to be a flameless ration heater, more well known as FRH, and it looks like so. The hot beverage packet, brown plastic spoon. This is very synonymous with an MRE, this brown plastic spoon, and the accessories packet. Now, in the accessories packet, it's going to be very similar to its predecessors, only they don't have cigarettes anymore, which makes a lot of sense to me. So you're going to see your salt, your pepper, your sugar, your coffee, your creamer, those types of things, matches, toilet paper, a wet wipe. Some of them are going to have Tabasco in them. I don't believe I do, but we do have more well-known brand. So the gum is going to be a well-known brand, the coffee is going to be a well-known brand, things like that. So now I'm going to invite a very special guest who's going to join me in actually eating these maybe too old MREs. Burt Thompson, who is the president of the Army Historical Foundation, is going to come join me. I think he's going to try out the hash browns. I can't eat bacon, and I'm going to try out the chili and beans. Now, here's an important thing to note, is that there are non-military grade MREs that are sold for backpacking trips and camping and scout camp and all those sorts of things for people to try out. I don't actually have those. I have real military grade MREs, and you can tell because there is a warning on the front that this, the commercial resale of this would be unlawful. Don't worry, this was acquired quite legally, but again, make sure if you are buying them online, you are getting the commercial ones. Well, welcome, Burt. So what we have before us is our deconstructed MRE. We have our chili with beans heating up over there, and it is getting quite hot, so we're probably going to dig into that first. We also have a full MRE here just to see what that looks like. So you ready?
We're ready.
I have to be honest, I'm a little afraid.
And why is that?
Well, I've been trying some interesting food on this channel so far, and this is the one I'm most afraid of because I didn't make it myself.
Well, I guarantee you this will be better than the hardtack you've already tried. So notice we're pulling this out. You got a little steam coming out.
We do got a little steam coming out there.
These MRE heaters can get a little bit hot. Our first one malfunctioned on us, and it's probably because it snowed a lot.
Yeah, so we had to pull it out of our...
dispose of these. And here is your meal. So what trick soldiers have is you could not need these, but you want to need them, right? And so a lot of times MRE heater sit there, so you want to make sure you move it around like you would putty. That way the heat kind of disperses and go around, right? And if you like your food hotter, you obviously leave it on MRE harder, right? And it's a chemical reaction that occurs with just a little bit of water, right?
Just a little bit of water. I learned that.
There's your meal. So I'm going to hand this beautiful meal over to you.
Yep. So, wish I could get some still shots of this, but that's what it looks like in there. I'm going to get a little bit of a spoon here. Pass that over.
All right.
And cheers.
And don't forget to take the plastic off of your spoon. I'll get you to hold that real quick while I maneuver. Now, did this not come with hot sauce?
It did not come with hot
Tabasco?
sauce.
Oh,
No,
that's
it did
a
not.
bummer. To eat food as a soldier without Tabasco is blasphemy. So let's give it a shot here.
It's not bad. It tastes like chili. It's got an interesting aftertaste, but just kind of your classic beef and bean chili. I'm pleasantly surprised. I think that's a very common theme on this show of me being pleasantly surprised at the food. So that's good. I think the only bad thing I've eaten on the show was that spaghetti. So
yeah,
this is better than the spaghetti. It's not bad.
I like it a little bit spicier.
Yeah, so this is our accessory packet here. We're just on the hunt for some Tabasco, but I have a feeling that we didn't get any. So we have our coffee, our creamer, our gum, salt. Here is our red pepper, ground red pepper. That might be a little spicy. Wet wipe. Here I have our matches, our sugar, and our toilet paper. So, again, if you've seen any of our other videos, this is a pretty familiar looking accessory bag. The only thing we're missing is, again, those cigarettes. Are we trying to move into a little bit more of a healthier type of rations? But Burt, you've probably eaten a lot of MREs in your time. Do you have any fun stories to share or something that tell the world about your MRE experience?
Well, maybe not fun, but yeah, I've eaten a few MREs in my lifetime. Started out in the Army in '84, but didn't start out with MREs, oddly enough. It was C rations. And so we were talking about that earlier before we started the program, that C ration doesn't mean necessarily canned. It just means that was the nomenclature of that series of food. A ration, B ration, C ration. I enjoyed C rations.
You did?
I like
Okay.
peaches with cream, my absolute favorite, and ham. But we migrated from that, at least in my career, from '84 to 2015, from really C rations. Then we went to what we called LRP rations. And so in Special Ops community, LRP, Long Range Patrol, almost like Mountain House meals now, if you're familiar with those. So backpacking it today, you take a Mountain House meal, pour a little bit of water in it, and you got a full, complete meal.
Yep.
And we used to just dampen it and let it get a little bit gooey, eat a big wad of it, and follow it, chase it with some water from your canteen.
Oh.
And what it would do is slowly expand in your stomach and make you feel full. And you could take that. The disadvantage of the LRPs, for example, the freeze-dried food in a bag, it's just one meal in that bag. You didn't have the diversity that you have here. And so once you ate that, then you had to have something, you had to do something with this bag. So you put it in your rucksack, to hike, to do whatever. It's a little bit messy. This is a little bit more compartmentalized. As you can see, there's a lot of elements. Each MRE has 10 elements to it. Everything from the main course meal all the way to the dessert. And so that made it a lot more kind of segmented and kind of modular. So you could nibble on it throughout. So you want constant energy coming into your body depending on what you're doing. And so this gave you that opportunity. And then we progressed through different series of MREs. Yeah.
Sorry, wow, that pepper really got me good.
That got you. I snuck it in there on you. You got to eat some of that too. But we did migrate through multiple series of development of MREs as we learned more. And it wasn't really designed for soldiers to be eating MREs constantly. You know, more than in excess of 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. So deploy for 6 months and eat MREs. You have some interesting consequences as a result of that.
I'm sure.
If you're not hydrated. No funny stories other than if you're not very careful with the MRE heater, and as you can see, this one's starting to swell up. If I totally seal that off, it will expand, right? And they are quite dangerous. And oh, by the way, there's an Arctic MRE.
There is an Arctic. I did know that. There is an Arctic MRE. I have seen that. I can tell you that my dad definitely does not miss these MREs. He served in the Navy for 20 plus years, and when I told him I was doing this, he told me, "Why would you do that to yourself?" So I can tell you there's one person there who will not be nostalgic about the MREs.
Yeah. Well, they had usually mess halls in the ships, right? I mean, yeah.
I think he ate a fair share of his MREs and was not a fan.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
And on that note of the Army figuring out what soldiers liked, there's actually some food chemists and food scientists who will follow soldiers in the field, see what they eat, see what they throw away to really kind of narrow what they want to put in these MREs and what soldiers are actually eating and what they don't want to eat. Like this certain candy that I can't remember the name of at the moment that no soldier, it was a Marine, no Marines wanted because it was bad luck to get them in their MREs.
Yeah.
So they phased those out because that's not what soldiers wanted.
Yeah, it is incredible development. I think there's been a lot of advancement in MREs, which really, I mean, speaks to itself. You get bored of them after a while, but you don't hear a lot of complaints. I mean, if you want the way to a soldier's heart, is
through his stomach.
Quite honestly. And I think developing MREs going a long way, and yeah, you get used to it just like anything else. I don't want to live off MREs, but I certainly am thankful for MREs and the multiple deployments I've been on, because that's what sustains you. So yeah, good job, Army.
Yeah, and that's really the goal of the Army, is to keep their soldiers nourished and fed. If that's something you haven't noticed in our 4-part series, I hope you notice it now. And that is truly the Army's goal here, is to keep their soldiers going. And that's what they've done. So thank you so much, Burt, for joining us and providing so much good information. Yeah.
Yep, go.
Thank you so much for joining me on this 4-episode series. I really hope you enjoyed it every step of the way. I know that we've gone quite the journey together here of food. So again, if you liked this video and you liked this series, please make sure that you hit like and subscribe down below. And if you're interested in supporting the Army Historical Foundation and learning more about Army history, please head to www.armyhistory.org, where you can learn more about Army history or make a donation to help support the Army Historical Foundation. I have definitely enjoyed going on this journey for you. This is Shoshana signing out.